Hi guys, welcome to Irish Footy Vlogs and welcome to another First Division review show. We only have 4 games, guys, this week because Cabinteely and Galway United was cancelled because of a case of COVID. Now, I know Galway found out at around 5:30 this game was off. They were on their way or actually at Stradbrook. I was under the impression that games had to go ahead, that it couldn't be cancelled once you could field a team basically, or you had to play your under-19s, etc., etc., etc. Thoughts on this, Keane?
It was a bit weird, wasn't it? It was a bit last minute job. Look, I don't know. Look, people's safety and stuff like that obviously comes first. And look, if that's the case, fair enough, I understand completely. But it was a bit late in the day, I thought. Now, whether they only got the text, not the way you get the texts, I don't know what the story was. I didn't read into it. But maybe they only got the text at 5 o'clock. But, this is something that probably could have been prevented a little bit earlier or whatever. I'm not sure.
That was my opinion anyway, though.
But, if it is, I'm not saying it's fake or anything like it. I fully believe it's true. And if the HSA guidelines and if the HFC got someone in and said, look, the best thing to do is this, then the best thing to do is that. They're the professionals, not us. And, I'd agree with Connor off in terms of safety for players and stuff like that. Look, I'm a fan. I want to watch games. I want to see matches. We all do. We all want to play games. But, it's people's lives that matter here. And, I think, you might have it, you might be grand, but, you might give it to someone and you might be playing dead. You know what I mean? You don't know. Yeah. So I think this probably the safest thing to do is that, look, it's early in the season. You can reschedule. It's not an issue. You can play a game on a Tuesday night. It's no bother. I just think it's important that the guidelines and, people's health and safety, I think, for me, that's the most important. I'm disappointed it didn't go ahead. I'm disappointed it happened so late after Galway travelling. But, we could have been sitting here now with 20 positive cases coming out of the teams and, they're going back and infecting them as and that or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden it blows up in terms of the League of Ireland. So, I'd rather it nipped in the bud now before I went any further, in fairness.
Quick thoughts on this, JP, before we move on?
It's a very delicate situation, isn't it, really? Because I know there was a lot made of it in the back end of last season when Derry couldn't travel for their game. The FAI more or less tried to hand the game to the Shamrock Rovers, and as far as I know, Derry City got brought on the big men and sent the FAI then backtracked and got the game replayed. But I don't think at this stage of the season, I know there was a lot made in terms of the participation agreement and all, and that if you had COVID, if there was a COVID outbreak in your squad, and then you had to play your under-19s and this and that. And I think that should be relevant towards the back end of the season. I don't think that should be relevant at this point of the season when we've got loads of time to fit in matches. As Cian said, there's midweek games. There's no League Cup this year. So there's plenty of midweek games. The FAI Cup won't be taking place till later on in the season. And at the same time as well, we don't know where the outbreak took place. Now, we don't know, did that outbreak take place at Stradbrook among the players? Because if it did, then it's potentially putting everybody else that goes into Stradbrook at risk, especially if the outbreak, I don't know where Cabinteely train. I don't know, but you've got to take in all the other considerations. Yes, there might have been an outbreak within the squad. But is that squad made up of under-19 players? Was it an under-19 player that the outbreak happened and he's passing it between the both squads? So I think it's very, very delicate situation. And as Cian says, the main thing is everybody's safe from it. We can't have a game go ahead for the sake of it going ahead because the FAI don't want to reschedule a game and then potentially burst into bubbles and the other team that has travelled having to isolate, and then everybody else around have to isolate. So look, it's early in the season. If there's a COVID outbreak, call the games off, and then fit them in around the end, around later on in the season. To be honest, that's my opinion on it.
Right, on to the football, and Cork City were beaten 1-0 at home to Athlone Town at Turner's Cross. We'll go to Adrian Carberry quickly, just for a quick interview.
Adrian, thanks very much for joining us. We're just after coming off the pitch here at Turner's Cross. You've taken another 3 points, a 1-0 win against Cork City.
Yeah, fantastic. Look, just still come to grips with it. Fantastic performance in the second half. I thought we lost our way a bit for a while, even if I'm honest. Cork are a very good team, and really it's the hardest game we had this season so far. I think tough place to come to. Colin Healy, great man, great, well organised, and caused us a lot of problems. We defended very well at times. We got a couple of early yellow cards against us. A bit worrying, going into the second half. But we dug deep, worked hard, and never give up. And we're always a threat going forward. So lucky then, probably unlucky bit. It could have been 2-0, got a breakaway near the end. But we'll take a 1-0 win any day away in Cork. Very hard place to come to. Absolutely delighted we're over the moon with it.
Yeah, it was a very tough first half. Let's take the first half to begin with. It was a very tough first half. You had a couple of good chances. You had a very good chance early in the first half, which was being ended up straight at the keeper. And then I think Curtis Byrne had another chance then, which managed to go wide. But you were creating chances in the first half as well.
We were indeed. We have that. We have players that can get in behind you, can come in front and hit from distance. We have different type of players in the team this year. I thought Cork had a great chance as well in the first half. Possibly just went wide of the post, Sling's post. We were lucky with that. It was very tight. It was very tight. It was going to come down to one little mistake or a slip or something along the way. We're just delighted. Last year we were looking at games like this and we probably fall foul to a late goal or something. But this year, different animal this year, I think, with all the players. Fantastic performance. Every one of them, James Doonis scored a goal, but if you look at his defensive display as well, getting back and helping out with Dale at fullback was fantastic, and that epitomised the whole team. I think it was right across the park, fellas. Even on yellows, just making sure that they got back and covered friends, and that was it. Everyone worked hard for each other, which is exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, the front 3 or 4 players seem to be combining very well. I think Adam Wickstead and Curtis Byrne combined to provide the cross into Adam Doona for his goal.
Yeah, and great play again, and just they're on a different level, and they're all on the same wavelength as well. They can see each other, what they're trying to do. You see it in training, it's fantastic. Probably didn't get as much of that tonight as what we've seen previously, but we're still a work in progress. We're probably catching teams a bit cold as well at the moment, and the league will balance itself out in a while, so we just need to just try and keep picking up points as much as we can, and make sure when it gets harder as we go along that we're still in the mix. Speaking
of the league, you're top of the table tonight. It's a nice place to be.
Yeah, we just call it all off now. It'll be great. But no, look, we're delighted. It's from everyone. I'm here talking in front of the cameras is fantastic, but just the boys behind the scene, with Becky Constantine and Graham Kane coaching as well, with Ian Budger, the goalkeeping coach, working together. It's really a team effort here. There's no bosses here. We're all the same. We're all working hard to make sure that the boys have everything in place to go out in the field and just perform.
I'm sure you and your coaches will be enjoying tonight, but tomorrow you've got to start thinking about next week when you have a tough away game to Bray.
Yeah, look, we enjoy tonight, a trip back from Cork as best we can, but look, you'll take that. We're a lot happier going down the road, it's fantastic, but yeah, it's on Bray now. There's no mistake about that. It's on a few things we need to tidy up, maybe a small bit, but now it's towards Bray and how we can impose our game on them now for next week.
Listen, Adrian, thanks very much, and once again, well done to yourself and the lads.
Thanks for being here.
Cian, Adrian must be delighted at this stage of the season. 3 games gone, top of the table on 7 points. He's talked about how teams, they might be catching them off the hop and things like that. But to be fair to Athlone, I mean, they seem to have gelled fairly quickly, haven't they?
Yeah, look, you can't ask for better, I think. You really can't. And look, fantastic performance against Galway, and another fantastic performance against Cork. Look, Cork had their chances. Cork had their chances without being too dangerous. I felt Athlone managed the game very well, in my opinion, and I thought they defended well and they were organised, and they didn't just defend well, but they weren't just organised. They were getting on the ball and they were playing some really good stuff. And look, the goal was a lovely bit of play. Look, I won't say. I think it was a bit of a delicate finish. Let's say that I would have predicted the keeper to save it. I was disappointed looking at that, and then look, a few minutes later they broke through again. Could have been 2-0. I don't know if you've seen it. Horrendous miss, let's say. But you know, it was a good performance from Athlone. They beat Galway, they beat Cork, two teams that expect to be up there, and a team fighting for the promotions in UCD, and they didn't lose. And you know, you have to say you can't ask for a better start than that. On the other hand, though, I'm not happy, Keith. I'm not happy. I was very frustrated looking at it. I really was, and I think that performance from Cork has literally just backed up everything I said about them last week. You know, spineless performance, in my opinion. I just think, you know, grow a set of balls and get out and play. I'm playing with Cork City. And, you know, it's so disappointing. Like, that goal, did you see the goal? Like, some of the defending and stuff, like, it's all over the place. And like,
yeah, James Dooner, he was left with it was like a penalty in a way. You know what I mean? He time and he'd space and
he hit it straight down the middle.
Yeah.
I think McNulty kind of jumped over it. And you know, I don't have anything against Cork myself personally. I really don't.
No, but Keane, I see a lot of Cork people. They're getting angry themselves, to be honest. Yeah. And spineless is a word being used in a few circles. I've noticed. Yeah.
Like I want Cork City the best they can. I'm passionate about the league, and I'm passionate about big clubs in this league. And no, I'm saying this in the best possible way for Cork City, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm just like, they shouldn't be losing to Cabinteely. They shouldn't be losing to Athlone. Look, Athlone play fantastic. I'm not taking anything away from that. They deserve to win. But you're Cork City at the end of the day. And, you know, they're very weak. They're very, like, that mentality, the attitude. Like, you talk about Shamrock Rovers going 1-0 down and scoring 2 minutes later, nearly going on to win the games that they played in. You know, that's the attitude you need. This is the attitude we've seen from Cork for many years. And now it's just, I just don't enjoy watching them. I just can't see them scoring. And, you know, they are down in the dumps, and you can see that Colin Healy, give him time. He's the man. He will. He's a Cork City man. I heard his interview. He expects results, and so you should at Cork City. Like, they should be up there, no question about it. But it's just the attitude seems to be way off. Something about the club isn't right. And, you know, I know they have a lot of mixture of young players and stuff like that. And, you know, they did have the majority of the chances in the game. I'm not saying they didn't, you know, but they huffed and puffed. But Athlone were comfortable, I thought. They didn't take their chances. And Cork are playing Shells next week. And, you know, you're saying to yourself, like, this is a game now that you'd expect them to even up at 10%. Or I think even if they up at 20%, it's probably not going to be good enough. But, you know, they need to put a decent performance in next week. Otherwise, you know, Colin could find themselves in a little bit of trouble. And, you know, look, it's easy in this league to get into the playoffs, let's say. You know, you can win a couple of games, you'll be in there. But Cork City are better than that. You know, Cork City are a team better than playoffs. They shouldn't be settling for that. And I wouldn't be, as a Cork City fan, settling for playoffs. You know, we want to see them first, second or third and really pushing for the league. We're just... next week.
JP, on the other hand, are Athlone capable of pushing for top spot, in your opinion?
Yes, there's no reason why they can't. I think Adrian's probably playing it down a wee bit by saying that they're currently catching teams on the hop, but they're a project only beginning. But there'll be a lot of confidence in that team, especially with the results that they've got. They've kicked on brilliantly from the last minute equaliser against UCD. They've got an excellent win last week against Galway. They've got and the thing is, they're digging out results. It's not like they're winning comfortably. They're digging out results. So they've dug out a draw.
Brilliantly.
Yeah, they dug out a draw against UCD. They won comfortably against Galway. They've dug out a 1-0 win against Cork. And that, for me, speaks volumes more of a team that goes out and wins 4 and 5-0 every single week, because you get everything with these kind of results. And at the start of the season, I tipped them for a playoff place. And I still think that, given the makeup of the Galway and the Shelburne squads, that over the course of the season, it's probably going to be one of them two winning the league. But look, Athlone are going to be thereabouts. Let's make no bones about it.
Yeah, I mean, Cian, moving on to Treaty and Cove drew 1-1 first ever derby, I suppose, in many ways, Munster derby here. Treaty are still unbeaten. They've only conceded 1 goal so far. Cove, after their bad defeat last weekend, probably are happy enough to get a point here, are they, do you think?
Yeah, Treaty were comfortable in the game. You know, if they keep 11 men on the pitch, to be doing all right. Yeah. Honestly, they were comfortable, and look, they played well. It
was an early enough sending off as well, 33 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, they played some really good stuff. I was impressed with them. But, you know, when you don't keep 11 men on the pitch, you're always it's an uphill battle, and that's twice now. Now, I'm saying that, and they got sent off against Bray, it didn't change the game at all. There was absolutely nothing in that game. But, no, there was a bit of something in this game. I have to say, now you can see Treaty putting a couple of passes together, a few phases of play that I was really impressed with. They're definitely a club that's going to be hard to beat. Whether you know what I mean? I don't think they're going to ship a lot of goals the way they play. So, in this division, I think that's all you need. You don't need to have the best of the best. You know, you just need to have a team that's hard to beat, and you might hit one on the bounce, which they are doing. You know, they're getting goals, and it's not like they're not scoring. But I think, you know, Cole will be a little bit disappointed again, not because because we're all due respect to Treaty, and that's what Cole Ramblers would be saying. You know, this is a team like we should have the upper hand on. Not necessarily mean they will, but you know, you'd like to think Cove should have enough for them, but they didn't. And look, I think Cove be delighted to go away with a point. I just thought Treaty were really good, and you know, they might surprise a few. I know it's early days, look, but they might surprise a few.
Yeah, I mean, JP, they'll be disappointed enough, I think, Treaty, because as Cian said, 1-0 up and then getting the man sent off. They probably win the game with 11 men, which would see them level top of the league with Athlone, like, if that was the case.
Yeah, but really disappointed from Tommy Barrett's point of view. That's 3 games in, 3 red cards. It's not a good start, but he'll be drilling it into players that not only do you need to win games, but you need to have discipline as well. And unfortunately, it's not a good look on the team that if they've got 3 red cards in 3 games. But they'll be disappointed. Yeah, not they've won this game, especially taking the lead so early on, 15 minutes into the game, and then they go down to 10 men. But as Cian said, against Bray, it didn't change the game. This one it did, because it allowed Cove Ramblers to get the upper hand on them. Cove probably went in the game, as Cian said, thinking they would have the upper hand. But an equaliser from Walsh got them the equaliser. But Cove again will be disappointed too, because they lost to Cork in the opening game of the season when they probably should have won. They got hammered against UCD, but they'll be delighted that they've got their first point on the board as well, even in the circumstances that they were the opposition having to go down to 10 men and get it.
Yeah, they'll be disappointed enough with their start. I think they're capable of getting better results, but only 3 games in. Yeah, Cian?
I don't think that Treaty will be going to Europe like UCD did for the Fair Play Award.
No, I don't think so. They'll be disappointed with that. They're actually on 5 points after 3 games and have had a man sent off in each game. So in another way, you can look at it and say, look, lads, if we can keep 11 on the pitch, we're doing better than that. But funnily enough, at Belfield finished UCD 0, Bray 0. And the reason why I'm giggling is because we all predicted goals in this one. You know, UCD are 5 points after 3 games. Happy enough with that, unbeaten. Bray are unbeaten, but haven't won yet. I was talking to a Bray fan. I think you might know him, Keno, Mr. Keith Ryan, and he said just nothing pretty much happened in this game.
I wasn't as bad as Treaty, but it wasn't far off. This was a game that I watched last night.
Did you know the result, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh.
But no, I mean, it was like, even though I knew the result, it was still poison. There was nothing happening, you know. You have to, like, you know, you go to Shells and you're putting a great performance and it's 3-3, and then you need to back it up. Like, that Shell performance means nothing now. you know, because they need to go next week now and win. Look, a point away from UCD isn't bad.
Yeah.
A point away from Shells isn't bad. You'd expect them to beat Treaty. So, you know, that's the only disappointment so far.
That's the funny thing, Keane. I'll jump in quickly. If they beat Treaty and then draw those 2 games, suddenly it's a great start for Bray, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just funny how things quickly change. Like, you know, they get a win now next week, hopefully, and you know, push themselves back up there where they belong. You know, they need to win at home next week. Otherwise, you don't want the likes of Athlone. You don't want teams getting a few points ahead of you, and you're already up against after a couple of weeks only. So, you know, I think Bray will put it right next week. I think a point isn't a bad result, but there was no quality in the game really as such. You know, that changed that game. Look, they've 3 strikers out injured.
Doesn't help.
It obviously like 3 of them out injured. Like, that's bad, you know, and you know it really is, and that's all you can put down to is bad luck. But you know, they should have enough quality against the so-called lesser teams now to breaking them down with or without a recognised striker.
JP, I just wonder from UCD's point of view, they look so far a bit more solid defensively this season, I think. They obviously won 4-0 last week, drew 0-0 this week. Their Achilles heel last year was some big wins, but then some bad defeats. They're obviously looking to sort that out. And in a way, I suppose you could say 0-0 against Bray in those circumstances is a little bit of progress, you could argue.
Oh, yeah, definitely. As we touched on the preview show, there's never an in-between. Usually it's like really good or really bad. There's no in between. But I think digging out a 0-0 result against Bray Wanderers, because Bray probably on paper has a better squad. But as we know, football's not played on paper. But UCD, they'll be happy with the start they've made. They'll be really disappointed, obviously, that they didn't hang on in the first game of the season. But they backed that up with a fantastic 4-0 win against Cove Ramblers. But they'll be happy with they'll probably be happy with the draw in this game. It's a really good start. As you just touch upon, like Bray, where if they had beaten Treaty and got 2 draws in their last 2 games, we'd view that as a great start. We're probably viewing UCD's result as a great start. If they'd held on against Athlone, it would have been a fantastic start for them. They would have 2 wins in their opening 3 games. But look, it doesn't get any easier for Bray because they've Athlone now next week, and Athlone have made a flying start. UCD, they're up against Cabo if it goes ahead, depending on what the situation is at Cabo. But yeah, I think UCD, if they're going to challenge for the top of the title, because I don't see no reason why they can't. I did tip them for a playoff place to start the season, but the way teams have started, I don't see why UCD can't be one of those teams like Athlone that are pushing for the title. But in order to do that, they have to try and put in these kind of performances where they won big next week, but they grind out results the following week, and that's exactly what they've done here. They haven't felt sorry for themselves for not hanging on against Athlone. They've really knuckled down, and they've really got 2 fantastic results, in my opinion, in their last 2 games.
Speaking about grinding out results, Keane, Shelbourne 1, Wexford 0. It was actually an OG that from Crowley as well. But was this a game? Did you see this game? Was this a real grind out for Shelbourne? Everyone tipped them to win kind of comfortably, or was it a game of missed chances? How did it go?
It was a poor game. There wasn't much happening, you know. I think the most important thing is 3 points.
Yeah, the first one as well of the season.
Yeah. You know, I don't want to be like they haven't even kicked into mode yet, you know. So I wouldn't be too worried. You know, you're picking up points. You're picking up a great draw against Galway, great draw against Bray, considering like you haven't kicked into gear yet, and then you beat Wexford. You know, so you know Shells are up and running before they've even got out of gear. So you know they'd be happy with that. They would have expected, you know, Yo-Yo and you know Michael and stuff. They would have expected to probably open their accounts with a few decent goals. And I think that's a little bit disappointing from them that it came from an own goal. But look, you'll take it any way it comes. And, you know, Shells 1-0. I think Wexford can take heart out of that. I honestly, I feared for them coming here to Talca Park, and I feared it was going to be a decent scoreline. But, you know, I have to say, they done okay. 1-0. Look, nothing to be embarrassed about there. And, they'll take that into next week now and a home tie and, see what happens.
Did Wexford create many opportunities themselves?
They didn't create much now. You didn't expect them to, let's say. But, if they can get a point against Shells, I always look at it myself as a fan or as a coach or whatever it is, and you're looking at the games and you're saying, not many people are going to get a point off Shelbourne. So if you can get a point there, you're a point ahead of everyone else. That's the way I'd be looking, especially this early on the season. Like, you're getting a free point, basically. So, that's what teams would be looking to get off Shells. So Wexford would be disappointed that was an own goal. Now, it was a great header that went in. Now, I have to say, like, honestly, you'd be proud of it yourself, but they'd be really disappointed that they didn't, considering it was an own goal and it was their own, that's the only disappointment. But I'd be very proud if I was Wexford. You're going to Tolka, you're losing 1-0 after getting battered, let's say, in the last 2 weeks. You take it. You take it.
Yeah, JP, ultimately, like, it's a decent start for Shelbourne, I suppose. They have 5 points after 3 games. How do you think Ian Morris and Alan Reynolds will see it this moment in time?
They'll see it probably as they'll be disappointed that they haven't got more points on the board. But when they look back at the first 2 fixtures, Bray and Galway, it's 2 teams that's going to be around them. They didn't lose any ground to them, those 2. But picking up the win against Wexford, they've now gained ground on them. So that's the way you have to look at it. We touched on it in the Premier Division preview, that it doesn't matter where your first one comes from, how it comes about. Cian even mentioned about coming off a referee's arse.
Which doesn't count, by the way, as JT highlighted. I didn't know that.
No, it used to, but it doesn't now. Not the last few years. But they've got a one. They've got a one. It came through an OG. They won't care about that. They'll just look at the league table and see they've got a win on the board. They now have, as a Cork they play next week. So they've begun into that game. I think it is, isn't it?
It's a Cork, yeah. It is Cork, yeah.
They're away to Cork next week, so they'll go down there full of confidence up against the Cork team who've had 2 defeats and probably scraped a win in their first game. So Ian Morris and Alan Reynolds, probably looking back, will be delighted with the start, and they'll be looking to really kick on now and assert their authority on this first division.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, guys, thanks a million for coming on as usual. Great show as usual, particularly because I was on it. But anyway, anyways. Please subscribe, hit your bell notification button, and like the video. Thanks very much, guys. Brilliant.